Let us step into the world of unsolved mysteries, where even science is powerless in the face of spine-chilling paranormal phenomena. Archaeologists were faced with discoveries too strange to explain, too extraordinary to be believed. Do you have the courage to step into a world of unsolved mysteries, of tales that defy all conventional logic and reasoning? Prepare for a journey through the enduring mysteries of human history, where every discovery is an unsolved riddle. Each piece of evidence uncovered challenges all previous scientific understanding. Mysterious footprints. For many years, scientists and historians have been racking their brains to find an explanation for the mysterious lines that appear on the deserts of the Middle East. These lines stretch for kilometers, and to this day, no one has determined their true purpose or function. However, in April 2020, a new hypothesis was proposed to explain this mysterious phenomenon. Now, researchers believe these lines are not random marks or created by nature, but are in fact ancient hunting tools. More specifically, they could have been giant traps used for hunting animals in the area. This hypothesis suggests that our ancestors may have used these lines to lure animals into prepared areas, where they would be herded and trapped by low stone walls. Although these walls were not high enough to contain herds of gazelle, they were likely built to funnel the animals into narrow areas, where hunting and driving them became significantly easier. This could have provided ancient people with more effective hunting methods, particularly in harsh environments like deserts. These lines were first discovered in the early 20th century, when pilots of the British Royal Air Force flew over the deserts of Egypt, Israel, and Jordan. Among these lines, the longest one is located in Jordan with a length of up to 60 kilometers. Researchers suggest that one of the key pieces of evidence indicating this was a hunting tool is the presence of circular holes located at the intersections of the incised grooves. These pits were likely used to herd animals into enclosed areas where they could be more easily captured. According to archaeologists, these tools may have been created around 2,400 years ago and were used for a period of 200 years. This is a clear demonstration that ancient civilizations possessed highly unique and intelligent ways of thinking. Humans have long known how to utilize tools readily available in nature to serve their survival needs. Bin in Su Bai Han. Kanben in Su Voi Nit has long remained one of the great mysteries that modern scholars have been unable to decipher. This is a book filled with cryptic symbols, though many dismiss it as nothing but a hoax. However, some people still believe that this is actually a valuable historical document that simply hasn't been translated accurately. This book was discovered in Rome in 1912, and ever since, the contents within have remained a mystery. At one time, experts at Yale University were absolutely convinced of the book's authenticity. They added that book to the PENEC Library's rare book collection. However, the history of the book before 1912 remains a mystery. And despite having conducted countless tests, scientists have only been able to determine that this book dates back to the 15th century, as determined by carbon dating. The book is approximately 240 pages thick and is filled with illustrations and strange script inside. The text in the book appears to be encoded, but without knowing the original content of the writing, it's impossible to decode it. This makes understanding the meaning of the Penicillus voenus nearly impossible. Among the drawings, there are pages illustrating various types of trees and flowers. Meanwhile, other pages depict women in typical 15th century attire. Although the book does not directly emphasize its own importance, but the very complexity of encoding this information inevitably leaves us with questions. Why would someone go through such great effort to encode a book so thoroughly and intricately? Is this merely a practical joke, or does it actually conceal an important message that humanity has yet to decipher? To this day, this question remains an unsolved mystery, ensuring that the Voynich manuscript continues to be a captivating subject for history and science enthusiasts. The Sangxingdui culture and its mysterious disappearance. The Sangxingdui culture, one of the great ancient Chinese civilizations, vanished abruptly around 3,000 years ago. To this day, the reason for this civilization's disappearance remains an unsolved mystery. Scientists are still diligently searching for an explanation for this mysterious disappearance. Recently, a new hypothesis has been proposed. This hypothesis suggests that a powerful earthquake most likely destroyed the land of the Sangxingdui civilization. At the same time, altering the course of a crucial river cut off the water supply to this civilization. Based on archaeological evidence, it can be seen that after the catastrophe, the people of Sangxingdui likely migrated near a new river to find a place to settle. This could also explain why the giant bronze statues, characteristic of Sangxingdui culture, were found in the Xinxiao area. In 1986, they left their traditional homeland. Although the hypothesis of a natural disaster and the migration of the Sangxingdui people sounds plausible. However, that still does not fully explain the ultimate fate of this civilization. Though I had left, a strange thing was that upon arriving in the new land, the Sangxingdui people ceased producing their distinctive bronze statues and cultural artifacts, which were their unique hallmark. The burial of such a high concentration of artifacts could be a sacrificial ritual or an act of commemoration and gratitude. This forces one to ask the question, is this civilization voluntarily disintegrating, as each person follows their own separate path? And if that is indeed the case, what reason led them to make this decision, to abandon everything they had painstakingly built? The answer to that question remains an unsolved mystery to researchers. When an object has a shape so bizarre that its very existence in the era it is purported to come from seems inexplicable, we call it an out-of-place artifact, also known as a U-bit. Enigmalid. This object was discovered in 1998 by electrical engineer John Che Quirum in a rural area of North America. This location has not yet been widely publicized. Quirum's enigmalid is identical in shape to an electronic component, yet it is encased in an extremely hard block of granite and is estimated to be at least 100,000 years old. Upon discovering the strange object, Quirum himself, an electrical engineer, was immediately suspected of having created it as a hoax. However, although he invited scientists and researchers to investigate, very few agreed to participate. What is remarkable is that this electrical component shows no sign of having been attached to the rock, but rather appears as though the rock formed and enveloped it. Given the age of the rock, this is almost impossible. Additionally, the 3 chip legs of this component are fixed within a matrix made of an unidentified material, making it even more mysterious. Although the majority of scientists believe this is a hoax, to this day no one has been able to provide verifiable evidence to prove it. To this day, this object remains an unsolved mystery, consistently capturing the attention of the research community. Cache Shabib Ruins, a mysterious site in Jordan. Returning to the strange walls of Cordon, but this time, they are not the animal traps we have seen before. Scientists are completely at a loss to explain the existence of this structure. Known as the Cache Shabib Wall, this structure has every potential to become a world-famous wonder, on par with China's Great Wall's territory, yet it doesn't. There were no signs of any nearby residential area. Therefore, the hypothesis that this was a defensive wall or a protective boundary was ruled out. If it hadn't been for the chance discovery by a British diplomat in 1948, who spotted this wall from his airplane window and raised questions about it, perhaps archaeologists will never lay eyes on this structure. Along the length of the wall, several excavations were conducted, however, no artifacts were discovered. The builders of the Cache Shabib Wall did not leave behind any artifacts, or at least, none have been found to date. This wall must serve some purpose, but we cannot yet determine what it is. Information about it is so scarce that we cannot determine when it was built. When visiting Jordan, travelers cannot miss the mysterious circles scattered across the territories of Jordan, Syria, and Turkey. These circles are known as one of the world's greatest and most recognizable mysteries, having perplexed archaeologists for a long time. Although there are more than 10 circles in this area, to this day no one knows who created them or the true purpose behind these formations. According to expert estimates, these stone circles have existed for approximately 2,000 years. They are formed from piles of stones stacked on top of each other, with a height ranging from 1.2 to 1.5 meters. These piles of stones are arranged in circles with an average diameter of up to 400 meters. Some of these structures were even intersected by an ancient Roman road, proving that they predated the Romans' arrival in the area. This only adds to the mystery and enigma surrounding the origin of these circles. A common hypothesis suggests that these circles may have been created by ancient people using a rope fixed to a central point, which was then pulled taut and rotated around to form circular patterns. This hypothesis could explain why certain sections of these circles are not perfect, as obstacles may have existed at those points, causing interference. However, this hypothesis has only addressed the explanation of the formation process, without yet answering more fundamental questions. Who created them and why did they do so? The mysterious Courtisnow rock formation in Scotland. From ancient times, our ancestors not only lived simple lives but also possessed an astonishing capacity for artistic creativity. A clear demonstration of this is the Corsane stone in Scotland, considered one of the most quintessential examples of Neolithic art in the British Isles. The 12-meter-long rock has circular and oval-shaped marks on its surface. These marks were crafted with incredible sophistication and precision. This indicates that it is not a structure created randomly, but rather a work with a clear and deliberate purpose. However, the true purpose of these stones has so far remained a mystery that archaeologists have yet to decipher. Although numerous hypotheses have been proposed to explain the meaning of these drawings, to this day, none have been truly convincing. Unfortunately, shortly after its discovery in 1887, the Courtisnow stone quickly became a tourist attraction. The archaeologists' research process was interrupted. Visitors are free to walk on the rock, which has inadvertently resulted in the loss of much crucial evidence. That scientists need to better understand the purpose of these stones. To preserve this precious heritage and protect it from the impacts of tourism, the authorities decided to bury the ancient stones underground in 1965. Since then, the gemstone block has only been excavated and displayed on special occasions for public viewing. Though over 4,000 years old, the Courtisnow stone stele still stands imposingly through time, preserving patterns that are not merely evidence of ancient artistry. Simultaneously, it remains an unanswered question. It will persist there for future generations to continue to contemplate and explore. Just as searching for clues to clarify its true purpose. The Great Wall of Taysat, an eternal resentment in the flow of history. The town of Rockworld in Taysat, USA, is famous for a great mystery. An ancient wall whose origin and purpose of construction have, to this day, remained unexplained. Great Taysat Wall. The wall was first excavated in 1852, but it wasn't until 1901, when the renowned archaeologist Robert T. Hugh conducted his research, that it truly gained attention. He believed it was merely a natural rock formation, not something created by human hands. His theory temporarily settled the debate over whether this structure was man-made. However, by focusing his research solely on the excavated sections of the wall, Hugh overlooked several other areas of the structure. These blocks were discovered later. They were clearly not natural rocks, but rather stones that had been deliberately arranged by humans. This clearly shows that this is a man-made structure. Although the origin and purpose of this wall's construction remain subjects of debate. Most archaeologists today believe that it was not a natural phenomenon. This means the wall was definitely built by humans, but the issue lies in not knowing exactly who created it. And the reason why they did it remains a mystery to this day. However, the wall has always been a particular focus of researchers' attention, as it conceals an unresolved historical mystery. The enigmatic paintings of Shigul Canyon. At Shigul Canyon in the town of Thompson Springs, Utah, USA, there are ancient paintings carved onto the cliff walls. Having existed for thousands of years, it is a vestige of an enigmatic indigenous culture about which we know very little. These paintings have now faded with time after decades. Only vague images remain, lurking like phantoms on the stones. It is believed that these paintings were created through a collaboration between the Fremont and Utes tribes, spanning many centuries. Specifically, it was the Ute tribe itself that named it Chabin Utah. A notable feature in these paintings is the depiction of horses. This indicates they could only have been drawn after 1493, when Christopher Columbus brought the first horses to the Americas during his second voyage. The rock paintings by the Utes, though the most recently created works, have the most rudimentary style of expression. This is entirely different from the older Fremont paintings, which were executed in the Barrier Canyon style. The Fremont paintings are believed to have appeared around 9,000 years ago and are considered the oldest works of art in the region. Though faded by time, these paintings still preserve an invaluable historical legacy, serving as vivid testament to the existence of indigenous cultures of the past. To this day, they remain an enigma that has yet to be fully deciphered, leaving many unanswered questions about the life and beliefs of ancient people. The flat stone border of the lid is one of the most debated artifacts among historians and archaeologists. Discovered in Burkhorty, Banbeshevania in 1872, this stone slab immediately attracted attention due to the strange carvings on its surface. However, these carvings have raised significant doubts about their authenticity, making it impossible for historians and archaeologists to reach a consensus on the stone circle's origin and meaning. When found, the stone rim was broken into two pieces, and the second fragment was quickly discovered shortly thereafter. Strangely, the stone rim bears carvings that appear to depict a hunting scene, in which a group of indigenous people are hunting a woolly mammoth, a creature believed to have gone extinct in North America at least 10,000 years ago. The problem is that the bronze tools depicted on the stone slab only appeared around 2,000 years ago. This further raises doubts about the authenticity of that slab. Historians hypothesize that these carvings were likely created after the stone rim had broken. This suggests it is not an original artifact, but rather an item that was altered or forged at a later date. Some studies indicate that the carved lines on the stone's edge do not align with each other. This further reinforces the hypothesis that this stone block was broken before being carved. However, despite numerous hypotheses and various explanations, we still have not been able to find a complete answer to the mystery of the true origin of the stone lid rim. Although the majority of historians believe this stone rim is merely a hoax, there remains a part of us that cannot stop questioning the hidden truth behind that artifact. Could there still be an unexplored mystery, a crucial piece of history that humanity has yet to fully comprehend? This question remains open and has continued to attract the interest of researchers for many decades. The legacy of dead and rock. The legacy of the dead and the rock has been a source of controversy in America for a very long time, even dating back to before the nation gained its independence. The mysterious existence of the inscriptions on this rock was first mentioned in 1690 by Reverend Cotton Mather. He realized that no one could determine when and how these carvings had been made. Since then, many hypotheses about the origin of these characters have been proposed, ranging from indigenous peoples, the Portuguese, and backward Philistine tribes to the ancient Phoenicians. But one thing is certain: no one can ever know the full truth. Among the hypotheses, Portuguese explorer Miguel Cadril is considered the most likely candidate, though there is still no satisfactory explanation for why he chose this particular artistic style to carve into the stone. However, some scholars with differing views expressed disagreement with this interpretation. They believe that the script was most likely left by Chinese sailors who had reached Barclay as early as the beginning of the 15th century. The debate over this rock will likely never reach a conclusion. However, one thing is certain: this artifact has been removed from its original location and moved to a museum for preservation. Although various hypotheses exist, the presence of those mysterious characters continues to pique everyone's curiosity. Though its origin remains an unanswered mystery, it is undeniable that this is still one of America's most peculiar and captivating landmarks.